I think Cody Campbell is very good for Texas Tech, clearly. Obviously with his money. Obviously with the way he funds football. But I think you're seeing with this Brendan Sorsby situation, and if somehow you have missed this or you're under a rock, Texas Tech, University of Cincinnati, Indiana gambling bro, Brendan Sorsby, checked himself into a residential treatment facility for a gambling addiction. The problem is, it appears now very likely that, according to our sources close to the Big 12, Brendan Sorsby's never going to play another college football game, because it appears very likely that the Big 12 will not clear Brendan Sorsby for competition unless substantially new evidence emerges that clears him of betting on college football.
Oh.
According to the reports in the media and according to, widely held beliefs, that's going to be next to impossible. Because if you believe the reports, and again, I say allegedly just because I don't think anything is in concrete until Brendan Sorsby has his press conference begging for forgiveness where he admits that he bet on football.
Until it's on the record.
But the reports say, hey, he bet on Indiana while he was on the roster at Indiana. He was a massive gambler, according to reports, at Cincinnati, where he's alleged to have gone to Great American Ballpark during Reds games and was such a gambling addict that he was betting cash on every pitch. Like, think about that. You're sitting in a ballpark watching the Cincinnati Reds and betting on every single pitch. At that point, are you even watching baseball? I would guess you're not. And then you likely know the story that Brendan Sorsby transfers to Texas Tech with a lot of hubbub and fanfare, refuses to pay Cincinnati the $1 million buyout that is part of his contract with the Bearcats and NIL, and then just goes silent. Cincinnati sues Sorsby. This week, Sorsby's attorneys answered that suit in court, and they said, well, we don't like the buyout clause in the $1 million penalty, so it's unlawful and we're not going to pay it. And then, of course, the news happens. Brendan Sorsby checks himself into gambling addiction rehab facility place. It appears he bet on college football. And now our sources close to the Big 12 are telling us that Brett Yormark, who's been heavily involved in this situation, according to our sources, is not going to clear Brendan Sorsby for competition unless substantially new evidence emerges that proves Brendan Sorsby never bet on college football. This is a disaster for Texas Tech in a lot of ways. I think it is absolutely egg on your face. This is you pissing into a fan and having it blow right back on you. Essentially, you and all of your money cannot buy you out of this. You're losing a guy in Baron Morton for Will Hammond, who I want to make very clear. Kid has got skills. He can throw the football. If he hadn't gotten hurt last year, I think there's a chance Brendan Sorsby never happens in Lubbock. But he did, so he did, and now here we are. And I think it's a wreck for Texas Tech. I don't know how you fix this. You have put in place now with the NCAA these ghost transfer penalties, which essentially is, Morse code for tampering. So you can't just go into the portal and find Jimmy the quarterback.
Tampering.
And it ain't like there's dudes just chilling looking for jobs out there.
Tampering.
So you're in a bind. You need Will Hammond to be that guy. You need him to be him. That's what you need from a guy who's never been asked to be himmy. And now you need him to be everything. And he's talented enough. He's capable enough. We've seen it. Does he have the offensive staff around him to develop him very quickly?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a measure on Joey. I mean, I think that the like the whole situation just puts the offense in a tough position, and the defense was already going to be in a tough position, given that you had turnover with the draft. So, I'm not saying that they're not going to be good. I'm not saying that Tech sucks at all, because they don't. They're going to be good, no question about it. But I just think when you're talking about rinsing and repeating from last season, there's just some question marks you're going to have to figure out. Now, I've been championing Will Hammond for a minute. I don't have any doubt that the guy's going to be good. I do think the fact that he's coming off of the ACL, is an interesting, that's an interesting injury to be coming back from. ACL injuries as a quarterback, can be not a big deal. If your rehab goes really well and you're diligent in that area, which I'm guessing he is, it may not even be a big deal. Other guys struggle with it. So I think it's a little different than having a UCL as an injury or some type of upper body injury or whatever it might be. So, I just think we need to see what it looks like. If we get, if Will Hammond comes out looking comfortable in the offense and they look fine, then Tech will be fine. But again, this is the mantra I've lived and died on with football teams, man. If you have questions at quarterback, you're not going far. The good teams don't have questions at quarterback. And that to me is what's dominated this offseason for Texas Tech. Now, the good news is the attention's off of Will Hammond, right? I mean, everyone's talking about Sorsby and this whole situation. So at least he's chilling in the background right now. But, as we get into August and September and we get into the later part of summer, that's going to ratchet back up. So, we'll just have to see. But I find it funny that Cody Campbell's out here on Twitter multiple times over the last, several months or whatever, talking about how he didn't do this and don't accuse me of that. And it just is this whole deal where I feel like you've built this reputation for yourself of, hey, I have a lot of money. We're going to spend a lot of money. Tech is all about it. This is what we do. And then the moment someone calls you out on Twitter for allegedly, funding the $1 million PR campaign, yada, 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 you're like, no, absolutely not. I would never do anything like that. And if you're going to accuse me of that, use a better photo. First of all, the photo is not bad, dude. So if you're going to drop that line, it needs to fit the accusation, because if this is not a bad photo of you. But secondly, you can't escape the fact that you're the guy that spends a bunch of money in college athletics, and that's your reputation. And we've been seeing this a lot lately, dude.
But I don't want to go too far. I don't believe that Cody Campbell's out here funding PR campaigns on social media. Who are you, Russian bots? I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Why would he do that? What possible good comes from that? What's the win for Cody Campbell spending that all money, boy, to fund some PR campaign about Cincinnati and Sorsby and
to distract it from Texas Tech? That's the obvious reason you would do this.
Texas Tech has no exposure here.
Texas Tech
is no.
Yes, they
do. Beyond the fact that
they knew about it.
You think they knew about him? There's no evidence here that says they knew. There's no evidence that says they knew about his Indiana situation. There's no evidence that said that they knew he planted his ass at the ballpark and was betting pitch to pitch at Great American Ballpark. Should they have known? Okay, that's a conversation we can have. Did they know? Yeah, I don't believe you can say that. I think that's conjecture. I think that that's all over Twitter and all over the internet. There is zero proof and zero evidence that Texas Tech, quote, knew about Sorsby. I'm more willing to believe that Cincinnati knew about Sorsby. Oh, that I fully agree. That Cincinnati knew. I think my opinion is, based on some conversations I've had, Cincinnati tried to help Sorsby. I think Sorsby left Cincinnati because he was humiliated and embarrassed. That's my opinion. Is that Sorsby didn't necessarily want to leave Cincinnati. But I think when you're running and he is running, or, well, now he stopped running, but when you're at Cincinnati and you're Brendan Sorsby and you know what you've been doing, I think he was trying to escape all of that noise. So am I willing to believe that Cincinnati knew Brendan Sorsby had a gambling problem? Yeah, I'm pretty willing to believe that. Do I believe that Texas Tech did their homework and due diligence on Brendan Sorsby before they backed up that Brinks truck to his bookie's apartment? No, I don't believe so. Because let's be honest, guys like Brendan Sorsby, who we've seen in triplicate now, the athlete who's into the gambling thing so deep that he gives away his football career. Yeah, we've seen that guy repeatedly, multiple times in the NBA now. Huge federal investigations, indictments, arrests in the NBA. Jonte Portering that ass. Yeah, we've seen this story many times. So did Brendan Sorsby give away his career? Yes. You know what the real problem here is? I don't believe Texas Tech knew. You know why? Because they did zero due diligence on Brendan Sorsby, in my opinion. Zero. They didn't do their homework. They saw Brendan Sorsby. They saw a guy who wouldn't want to leave Cincinnati to come to Texas Tech? What would we be looking for? You're looking for the dead bodies buried in the backyard.
What would be worse, if they did know or if they didn't know?
If they didn't know. If they did not, if you just paid Brendan Sorsby and did no digging, no due diligence, no. Do you understand that in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, your favorite cricket league, like any professional sport where I'm going to give you a bunch of money to come and perform at a high level so that we can win championships and make more money, I'm going to cavity search you. And Texas Tech didn't do that here. Because you can't tell me a guy who's a gambling addict to the point where he checked himself into a residential program. Maybe it wasn't his idea. Okay, we can debate that. Did Brendan Sorsby willingly? I don't know. But he did. Because that means you are a degenerate gambler. Because that work in those residential facilities is not easy work. They handed you, when you checked in, they handed you a sledgehammer and sent you to the rock quarry. Because that's what you do there. You go there and you do real hard work on the inside. And it's miserable. So now the issue is you paid Brendan Sorsby and he's never going to play a down for you. So it's worse that you didn't go and do the due diligence to find out he's a gambling degenerate. Because when you're a degenerate, the way that Brendan Sorsby is allegedly a degenerate, everybody knows. That's why I'm saying, do I believe Cincinnati knew? Yes. Do I believe Texas Tech knew? No, because I don't think they put the work in.
Yeah, I mean, that's just embarrassing if that's the case. I mean, that's why, like, I'm not even disagreeing with you, but that's why personally it's hard for me to believe they didn't. Like, it's literally difficult for me to believe, like, yeah, dude, like, you guys are on the inside, you're in the process, like, you guys, are, I mean, you can't tell me that it's not commonplace in college football to do homework on big time portal recruits. There's just you can't tell me that the best of the best in college football aren't doing some type of cavity search, if you will. I mean, they just have to be. And that's what I find difficult. But I don't disagree. I mean, it would be shocking, if they, because I'm trying to think, okay, well, if you did know, why, like, so if they did know, then why then wouldn't you pay the $1 million to keep this quiet? Right? Like, if you knew that he had this problem, why cause the fight over the $1 million?
Arrogance.
But, like, if you didn't know, then it makes more sense that you would cause the fight. And, like, but again, I don't know, man. This is why I say, like, it's a Texas Tech, with all due respect, is a second tier operator still. You are not you don't know how to run this thing the right way to avoid problems. And this is kind of the conversation we have in a lot of different areas on the show about like, like no cop, no stop kind of situation. Like if you're going to sign a guy who has issues, that inherently means you don't want those issues to come to light and you'd like his entire existence to be focused around the weight room and the football field. You know what I mean? Like you want it to just be very like straight and narrow, singularly focused. Like don't get yourself worked up, off the field with this gambling stuff.
But there's also, is Will Hammond, or excuse me, is Brendan Sorsby a scumbag? No. Is Brendan Sorsby a bad person? No. I think there's a lot of tech fans are out with their torches looking for a victim. Like Brendan Sorsby, how old is Brendan Sorsby? I think he's 20. Yeah. Brendan Sorsby?
Yeah.
Is I think 20 or 21.
20. Yeah.
Right?
The Indiana stuff was happening when he was 18, so I'm pretty sure he's 20 now.
He's 21 years old, about to be 22.
Okay.
And you're telling me Brendan Sorsby, is he a victim? That's heavy. But he's not a scumbag or a bad guy. He fell into the dregs of society. And again, this is just my opinion. If you're somebody that is gambling on sports, you are asking for trouble. You are playing a very dangerous game, sir. And when you are 18, 19, 20 years old, and you are in deep with the sharks on your college campus, are you a scumbag? No. Are you an addict? He is. And I don't think that Brendan Sorsby, excuse me, I don't believe that Brendan Sorsby is a bad person. I have no reason to say that he's a bad guy or a bad actor. Or is he the smartest? Is he the brightest bulb? Is he the sharpest knife? No. Is he a bad guy though? Come on. I think that's too far.
Yeah, just don't know enough about what else has gone on to say one way or the other. I mean, he's not. Yeah, I don't think we should say he's a bad guy just based off the fact that he's a gambling addict. I think that's rough. I think, I just think that it's. I don't know. I feel like this story is less about Sorsby and more about Cody Campbell and Tech. I think
that's a fact. That's a fact.
I just think that the Sorsby thing is a Sorsby thing. He's a gambling addict. He got started down the wrong path, clearly, is what it is. It happens to the best of us, But I think that we need to stop saying things like Cody Campbell is somehow great for college football. Or
he's the future of college football.
He's going to save college football or whatever. I mean, I just want to keep pointing out the fact, man, that we've been sounding the alarm on this $1 million Cincinnati buyout issue for weeks. And it's just funny to me that now all of a sudden you've graduated from you won't pay a buyout to your quarterback is a gambling degenerate, and you look like an idiot because you do. You look silly. You look irresponsible. You look like you're the kid on the block who just got his inheritance and you're just going to spend it on a bunch of stuff without understanding the implications. And that's just what it is, dude. And again, we haven't even spent a lot of time talking about the implications for the conference because I'm going to keep saying it, dude. Like everyone thinks it's a joke. Everyone thinks that it's so far-fetched that Yormark would consider other opportunities or is tired of dealing with BS out of Lubbock or like I'm telling you, dude, like people's patience for bad operators and making dumb decisions time and time again is not endless. And I'm not saying it's imminent that he's leaving, but what I am saying is that there is a path here where the Big 12 could be in a lot of trouble as a conference, man. Like if Texas Tech continues to go left when they should be going right, and if the Big 12 as a conference takes a smash cap deal and heads down that path, you're talking about a really dark time ahead for the Big 12. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm not saying they will. It doesn't have to be that way. But I'm just telling you, I don't like what I'm seeing for the conference on the horizon, dude. I don't like what it looks like, 5 years from now, because I do think there's a massive question mark around new entities and a new league and just all that whole conversation. We're going to get to the tournament in a little while, the expansion of the tournament, which we told you was going to happen. But it's stuff like that for the Big 12, where you look at the conference and you say, dude, at some point, these schools and these presidents and ADs and boosters, you guys got to get in line. You need to start doing a better job. And if you're not going to do a better job, good things are not going to come your way. And it's not our job to feel sorry for you.
And he gave me permission to share this story. His name is I'll call him Danny Dimes, because that's what
Danny Dimes.
Is. Danny Dimes sends me a DM.
Danny.
I am 26 and I watch your show every single day. And although your golf swing sucks, I love the show. Thank you, Danny. That's very nice of you. I went to I'm not fighting with him over it.
Get a life, man. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
come on, man. Come on. I went to UCLA, and I can tell you, as a 21-year-old, I was betting $5,000 a day.
How?
Let that sink in. $5,000 a day. It got to a point where I was sitting at UCLA basketball, betting on the outcome of free throws and possessions. I was betting $100 a free throw in a college basketball game and losing. I maxed all of my credit cards, and I will never forget betting on USC to win a Pac-12 tournament game. They won, and I still lost. The next morning, there was a knock at my dorm room. It was my bookie. I tried to jump out the window and broke my femur. That's when I knew I had a problem. It took me snapping my femur, running away from my bookie, to figure out I was a gambling degenerate. It's not easy to get away from this stuff. It's easy to get involved. It's easy to get the hook set with your bookie. Trust me, I don't know any other addiction outside of pornography that is so easy to fall into the honeypot.
Pay that man his money.
Incredible. And he goes on to tell the story about how he went to a rehab in Oregon, Jake. He went to a live-in rehab, as he calls it, in Oregon for 6 months. The first thing I wanted to do was bet when I got out. I was thankful that my dad picked me up and drove me home and essentially sat next to me for the next 3 weeks while I continued therapy. I haven't bet since I broke my leg. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, look, I mean, we can have a conversation. I think that listen, dude, the access you have with a smartphone is dangerous. I mean, I'm just going to keep saying it. You know, I spend a lot of time right now, investing and learning, AI and understanding how to leverage it and use it. But the internet is full of dark places. And I think that gambling is one of those things that just, it's really difficult when you place your first bet, you lose money, and you're trying to recoup it.
Wait, dude, this is crazy. Danny also says, I no longer use smartphones. It's too tempting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember the old track phones?
Yes.
I have a phone just like that. It is, quote unquote, a dumb phone because I don't want the twinge of getting onto a gambling site. It's hard enough for me to watch the Lakers, who I love, which is, he put in parentheses, that's how I found your show. It's hard enough for me to watch the Lakers without wanting to bet on those free throws. And it brings me back to that moment, betting on free throws and betting on USC. It's like my mouth starts to salivate every time I watch somebody shoot a free throw. Jesus criminy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's,
Oh.
and I'm grateful, man. To the point where you've busted my balls over it. I'm just not a gambling guy. It's not I'm very lucky. That's just not what I enjoy doing. It's not my thing. I don't enjoy, and maybe it's because I don't have $5,000 a day to burn on it, right? Haven't reached that point in life yet, but I just can't stand to lose the money over whether somebody else makes a free throw or does something else.
Can you imagine losing $5,000 a day?
Dude, can you imagine what the things I would do if I had $5,000 of expendable income a day? I mean, that
Well,
you
he
could change your
maxed out
life
his
with
credit.
that.
He's paying his credit cards off.
Yeah, dude.
He
I mean,
maxed out his credit cards for it.
yeah. But my point is like if you have that kind of bandwidth, you can do a lot of damage. So I mean, I really that story is nasty stuff, dude. And that's great that you've been able to move on from it. And again, I also point out a lot of people wouldn't be able to take the as he put it, the dumb phone approach, right? Of getting away from a smartphone and getting to a flip phone or a phone that doesn't have internet access. It just is purely a call and text phone. I couldn't imagine not having an iPhone, but again, we're content creators. The iPhone is an integral part of my process every day. So it's just this thing where I'm telling you, we as human beings we're never built to have access to the internet and have access to those different things the internet provides you as easily as we do. Because what do you think it'd be? Like probably less than 3 minutes. I could go make a wager of some variety right now.
Yeah,
Like,
not even.
I mean, it isn't even hard.
You can go to Great American Ballpark right now and do it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is. Listen, that's why I say I don't think Brendan Sorsby is a scumbag. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how you ever get away from it. Danny also clarifies he will pay off his credit card debt in October. And bro, that was 7 years ago. That was 7 years ago that I broke my leg, and I still have not bet since. I am still $22,000 in debt. I was well into the six figures. I don't even want to say how much it was. Thank you, SoFi, for helping me get out of it. But it will be a major accomplishment in my life when I pay that off. The reason I tell you all of this is twofold. Jake hates when you give him advice, and no, Brendan Sorsby is not a scumbag. And I say, I think it's as real as cocaine or porn. I think it's real on that level. Fascinating. I appreciate you, Danny. I appreciate you sharing your story. That's crazy. I'm so glad you survived, but I also say talk to your kids about this.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
If you have high school and college age kids, talk to your kids about it.
Yeah, they don't need to be seeing Teddy KGB. You know what I mean? They don't need to be. They don't need the bookie rolling up at the door.
Man, can you imagine? You there's a knock on your door. Teddy KGB is on the other side of the door. Your bookie's on the other side of the door.
Chick.
So you jump out your dorm room window and snap your femur. That's the last time you ever bet. Oh my God. How do you know how painful it is to snap your femur?
No, and I hope I never find out.
Oh my God. All right, let's get your comments in here. In a sense, it's more real than cocaine because it's legal.
Agreed.
It is legal. Yeah, and he's still got $22K in debt left.